All right. Again, thank you everybody for joining us and welcome to today's webinar, Marketing Throughout the Show Cycle for Concert Promoters. So first is a little intro. I'm Melissa and I'm a Senior Customer Success Manager here at Hive. We also have two moderators joining us. We have Ratha, who is our Customer Onboarding Specialist, and Jessica, who is one of our Senior Product Support Managers. So they are there in the chat. So if you have questions, they will be there moderating the chat and helping us out today. And I also have a co-host joining me today.
Hi, I'm Marisol Siegel. I'm the former head of digital partnerships at AEG Presents. In my time there, was really spent guiding promoters and festivals on how to leverage marketing technology solutions to grow their audiences and drive more ticket sales. And I am super excited to be here today.
Thank you for joining me, Marisol. I'm so excited to hear as well. So let's dive into our agenda today. So as you can see, it is a pretty packed agenda for our webinar. So we're going to have a quick intro on Hive, go over event-centric marketing. We're also going to discuss a lot about the show cycle and how you can utilize Hive throughout the show cycle to promote your ticket sales. If you have any questions, as I mentioned, please feel free to either drop them in the chat or we do have a Q&A function. We are going to leave time at the end of today's webinar to answer some of those questions and go through a Q&A. I'll also mention that the webinar is being recorded. So after today's webinar, you will receive a copy of that recording if you wanted to rewatch it or share it with any of your colleagues. And we really want everybody to leave today's webinar with a better understanding of event-centric marketing and how you can use Hive's tools to support your marketing throughout the show cycle to better sell tickets and hopefully sell even more tickets than you are already today. I know that a lot of the people joining us are already Hive customers, but I was looking at the RSVPs earlier, and we do have some people who may not be as familiar with Hive. So as a quick introduction about us, Hive is a go-to marketing platform for event promoters. We integrate directly with a lot of ticketing platforms, which is allowing you to get your real-time event and ticketing data right within Hive. So with that integration, you're getting direct and easy access to your ticketing data, so you can do more specified targeting and segmentation for your email and SMS marketing. So quick little intro about who we are. So diving right into it here with event-centric marketing. So what does this mean? So essentially what we're looking at here is tailoring strategies to better drive engagement and results throughout the show cycle. So that's everything right from announce into pre-sale, on sale, maintenance, and the back-end stages.
And, of course, everyone's overall goal is ultimately to drive ticket sales. And think about using this method as a journey from awareness through to conversion. And, when you're building out each of these phases, you're going to do that based on your priorities and how the show is tracking.
Yeah. So we are curious, first of all, to see how many people today that are joining us are currently doing this type of event-centric marketing. So I'm going to throw up a quick poll here. So the options are, are you doing event-centric marketing? Yes, always. Yes, for some of your shows. No, not at all. Or maybe you're not sure yet. So I'll let some of those answers roll in there before I end things and show the results. Give it a few more seconds there. Ooh. Okay, I'm going to close things off. It looks like people have mostly answered it there. And I'm going to share the results. So what I'm seeing is that a lot of the people joining us today are familiar and are doing event-centric marketing, which is super awesome to see. So, we're going to continue on and dive right into how you can utilize Hive to leverage that event-centric marketing that you're already doing. So the first thing we're going to look at is one of Hive's newest features, and this is called Event Hub. So what it does is it lets you focus on your event by putting it front and center for you. So if you've logged into Hive recently, you may see that your events list is now the first thing you're seeing when you're logging into Hive. So, again, this is connected to that direct ticketing integration that we, have with your ticketing provider. But I'll mention that it is also possible to create events in Hive by importing your ticketing and event data via CSV. So if we don't integrate with your ticketing platform yet, or you haven't yet made that connection, you can still utilize Event Hub in Hive. So we're going to take a quick look at a really short little video here for Event Hub for people who have not yet seen it or maybe haven't had the opportunity to explore it yet. So this here is Event Hub. It's basically one home for all of your events and everything you need in Hive, all in one page. It's going to centralize your efforts and allow you to track your sales performance and your marketing activities and basically simplify your workflow. So with those different strategies, we have some pre-built templates for you here, but you can also create a campaign directly from scratch. So this is a look at some of our different templates. And as you can see, they do follow the show cycle that we mentioned earlier. And when you click on one of those templates, it will bring you right into the email builder with those filters added for you and relevant copy about your event. So again, really simplifying things for you and your team by making it nice and easy with 1 or 2 clicks to start creating those email and SMS campaigns with Hive. So diving into it, again, just as a reminder, excuse me, we have, 5 different stages in the show cycle that we're going to be focusing on today: the announce, the pre-sale, on-sale, maintenance, and backend. So let's dive straight into the announce stage. So during this stage, this is when you are going to be releasing the details about your show and generating excitement with your potential ticket buyers. And it's a really good time to start to build your list for your pre-sale if that is something that you take advantage of.
And, with announce phase, obviously, most of the time, you don't really have a call to action. And you may be doing some social media marketing or including things in newsletters. Pre-sale registration actually gives you a great tool for announce because it creates an opportunity for you to market during announce with a call to action, not just to capture data and build your SMS lists and your email lists, but also to enable you to leverage SMS to send out pre-sale codes, which ultimately have very high click-through rates compared to email to drive more traffic over to your ticketing platform during the pre-sale.
Yeah. So that next step, how do you use Hive to support you during that initial announce stage? So one of the features and tools we have within Hive is called pre-sale registration. As Marisol said, announce is a great time to promote the pre-sale and do a pre-sale registration. So with our pre-sale registration tool, it allows you to set up a sort of standalone page where you can collect that data on people who are interested in your pre-sale. So, over here on the left, you can see, we've sort of given some information about formats that you can use during the announce stage. So the first one is pre-sale. You'd want to be reaching out to past purchasers who've been interested in that artist. In this example here, which is just sort of a mock example, would be a Chapel Rowan show. So also you want to target people who purchased in the past to similar artists. Maybe if you have genre data, people who are interested in that genre, as well as within the location. So those are all filters that you can use within Hive based on the data, again, that we're getting from that integration that we have with your ticketing platform.
And when you think about pre-sale registration, really great for high demand shows. If you have a strategy that you're trying to develop around gathering more SMS data, it'd be great to think about, how to run these on an ongoing basis to capitalize on that. And when you're running pre-sale registration, really think about that kind of the runtime of these campaigns. You really don't want to run them less than 2 days. Ideally, kind of, 3 to 5 days or 3 to 7 days, really to ensure you can get enough data collection. But I know for some shows, you may not have a lot of lead time between announce and on sale or announce and pre-sale. So just thinking about that, running these for, 12 hours or 24 hours is just not going to yield a really strong result because it just doesn't give a lot of people enough time to actually collect data. But, think about that runtime when you're putting this into your plan.
So in addition to utilizing our presale registration tool, you can also utilize our SMS and email campaign features in Hive to send out messages to people, letting them know where they can sign up for presale, letting them know that the show is happening. So again, we've listed over here, who you would want to be targeting and segmenting for in Hive for that. And sort of, a little look at, the type of campaigns via email and SMS that you could be sending, promoting that presale registration. So the next stage, presale itself. So this is obviously when you're kicking off your early ticket sales. And during this period, you want to try and incite that sort of fear of missing out. And you're basically kind of offering exclusive and early access to those ticket sales. So, what can you do to sort of leverage that during the presale stage?
And I know we talked about presale registration during announce, and that's something that may not always work for every show, but you may still have a presale. So keep in mind, we talk about presale stage that could be supporting presale leveraging registration, or a presale where you were just going to run more of an open presale and distribute the code to everyone via a lot of mechanisms. Either way, Hive has tools to support both of those. Again, just as a reminder on that registration piece is you have the extra advantage of really collecting mobile numbers specifically to distribute codes, so that you can leverage that high click-through rate on the sends.
Yeah. So again, let's take a look at how you can utilize Hive during that period. And exactly as Marisol just said, we have here, as you can see on the left-hand side, broken it down by, whether you did do that registration period, or if you are, sending your presale codes to sort of like a targeted list, or it's more of an open presale sort of thing. So if you've been collecting phone numbers, it is a really great idea to send both an SMS campaign and an email campaign, letting people know that presale is going to be, going live soon, or that it is now live and available. Basically giving as many opportunities for people to see your communication and messaging as possible. And I also want to draw your attention here to the differences in delivery time that we've called out. If, people have registered in advance, they know the presale is happening, they know to expect it. If you're utilizing Hive's presale registration tool, they've probably received some sort of like confirmation email through that, letting them know that yes, they did, sign up successfully for presale, and this is when it's happening. But if you're utilizing SMS specifically, you want to make sure you're leaving enough time for all of your recipients to receive that SMS campaign. So at least 30 to 60 minutes in advance of the presale going live, sending out these communications. But if you're doing more of that open presale that Marisol mentioned, you might want to give a little bit more time in advance, because this could be the first time that they're sort of hearing about the presale, because they didn't register in advance and maybe don't have it written down on their calendar in the same way.
And one thing on that open presale too, I would say, for most shows, sending it the morning of the presale, with a few hours before it starts, we're suggesting 3 will work well. I think for those really high demand shows, you could also consider sending that out the day before the presale, and possibly sending a reminder just before the presale starts.
Yeah. All right. The next stage. So this is the on sale. This is when your tickets are going on sale to the public. This is when you're going to want to maximize the revenue as those tickets become available widely to everybody. So you want to really amplify your marketing efforts and create that sense of urgency to try and sell as many tickets during this on sale period as possible.
For many shows where you don't have a presale, this is really going to be your first big touch point, where you're sending out your communications, ensuring that you have a call to action. Best time to always send this, obviously, is once the on sale's starting, so that people can immediately take action to buy tickets.
Yeah. So for this on sale stage, what we've done, again, you're seeing, sending out that SMS and that email campaign. If you have SMS opt-ins, to really make sure you're taking advantage of all the communication ways to get the message out there that tickets are now on sale. So, that's sending to your targeted list, and including those pre-sale registrants who maybe didn't buy tickets during the pre-sale period. So you're still giving them the opportunity to buy tickets. And of course, don't forget to exclude people who did already buy tickets during the pre-sale period, because they don't need to receive this on-sale communications. Alrighty. Next up, we've got our maintenance stage. So just because tickets are on sale does not mean you should be kind of putting the brakes on or going quiet in communications. You want to still keep your fans engaged and also use this stage as an opportunity to perhaps collect some insights and additional data on them. So, making sure you're maintaining active communication and driving that excitement and that sort of, fear of missing out before tickets might end up getting sold out.
This is, this is a great time to, you're going to be doing your retargeting and, likely, using Meta Ad Manager to, use the Meta Ad platform to drive more ticket sales and create more awareness and create conversion. But it's also a great opportunity to drive upsells and surface important information that may be coming up during this maintenance phase for your existing ticket buyers.
So for exactly that reason, we've broken down in this section based on non-ticket buyers versus people who have already purchased tickets. So I mentioned that the maintenance stage is a good opportunity to drive excitement and collect insights. So one way you could do that would be to run a contest. So you could utilize Hive's contest tools to gather more signups and, get people excited that they could, possibly win a ticket. But if not, this is a good way to collect more emails and more data on people that are for sure interested in attending your event. So again, when you're sending out communications to that, whether that be an email or an SMS campaign, making sure that you're including those pre-sale registrants who, have not yet purchased tickets, and that you are excluding people who have already bought those tickets, because this sort of area would be focused on the non-ticket buyers. And then for those people who have already purchased tickets, Marisol said this is a really good opportunity to promote your upsells. So, that could be VIP seating, that could be parking passes, food and beverage offers. Maybe there's a meet and greet with the artist. So there's, whatever opportunities you have to try and upsell people who have already purchased tickets. This is a good idea, good opportunity to, keep them excited, keep the show top of mind. And maybe now that they're getting closer to the show, they want to kind of buy something extra to make, attending your event even more special for them. So you'd be sending this type of communication, these email and SMS, to your ticket buyers for your event. And then the last thing here for your maintenance stage, again, that Marisol mentioned, is your retargeting opportunities. So in Hive, we do have an integration that we sort of call the Facebook audience sync. So you can create segments in Hive that are related to your artist. In this example, again, Chapel Roan, and sync that segment in Hive over to your Meta Ads account so that you can retarget those people with ads on Facebook or on Instagram. So again, I'll mention, we did put this here in the maintenance stage, but it can also be done in the backend stage or just generally throughout, the show cycle, depending on how your marketing is formatted at the moment. And last but not least, we have the backend stage. So, this is your opportunity before the event to drive last minute sales, but also provide relevant information for those ticket buyers. So you're still keeping the show top of mind and sending out timely reminders to people.
I mean, what I think, for many of you and ticket buying in many cases has been trending towards later purchase. I think, in the past recent years, and backend's obviously about closing out strong and selling through inventory and supporting existing ticket buyers. Big focus on conversion. I think creating urgency with your communication is something that should be a big consideration. You know, when you think about communication in this phase two, and you have those great urgency notifications, Melissa will talk about a few of those. You know, if you have an SMS target list for this show, this is a great opportunity to consider how you can really serve those SMS subscribers who are going to be the first to take action, because they're getting that right to their phone very quickly with those call to actions. And maybe think about, you know, ways to kind of give them a jump on your email communication with some of those urgency messaging is going to be a great tactic as well.
Yeah, so let's dive into the tools and strategies in Hive that you can utilize. So we did also break this section down into your ticket buyers versus non-ticket buyers versus your ticket buyers. So first, here are the people who have not yet purchased tickets to your event. And as Marisol said, you really want to use this as an opportunity to create that sense of urgency. So that would be things like low ticket warnings, you know, almost sold out messaging. So, you know, anything that kind of creates, you know, that last minute sort of nudge to get them, you know, onto your ticketing platform and purchasing that ticket. So, you know, whether that be through a quick SMS or MMS message, or via email via email, you know, you want to make sure that you're taking every opportunity to continue marketing your event right up until it's happening. So again, if you have those people who register for the pre-sale, if you have those people who've signed up for your contest, make sure to include them now during this stage, because you have that data on them. But during this sort of non-ticket buyer phase, you are, again, still excluding those ticket buyers because they already have those tickets in hand. And for the people who have bought tickets, of course, don't forget to send those pre-show know before you go emails. So this is letting them know everything that they, you know, need to have access to before they arrive at your venue. So that could be things like parking information, you know, what they can and cannot bring into the venue, because that's become increasingly more important, as well as if you have an app or you want them to follow you on social media. This could also be a good opportunity for another push for your SMS list to encourage them to sign up, so that they know that they could be getting SMS updates about this event or for future events that you have coming up. Alrighty, so as a handy little tool here, we did create a little chart going over, you know, each of the stages and which of the tools within Hive that you can utilize during these different stages. I'm not going to go through it today because, as I mentioned, we are going to, you know, send a recording afterwards, but this is sort of, you know, something helpful to refer back to when you guys are looking at, you know, how you can, you know, utilize each of these stages and what you can put to use in Hive. All right, what I'm absolutely most excited about today is everything that we've showed is, you know, examples and ideas so far. But we do have a specific Hive customer that we're going to spotlight that has done an awesome job of marketing an event through each of those, you know, show cycle stages. And we're going to show you and talk about how they utilized Hive during each of those stages, as well as talk about what results that they saw in the end. So the client that we're going to talk about today is Logjam Presents. You know, they've got a lot of venues that they work with, everything from, you know, 550 capacity all the way up to, you know, I think it's 2,600 there. So, you know, sorry, 26,000, even larger. And they do anywhere between 250 and 350 events a year. So they are quite busy. They're also based in Montana, so I'll mention that as well, just sort of, you know, to give you some context for where they are location-wise. And the event that we're going to talk about that they, you know, specifically did a really great job promoting was shows for the Vampire Weekend. Now, these took place in June. We're specifically going to focus on their Saturday show, but I do want to mention that, you know, they actually had double shows that weekend. They had shows on Saturday and on Sunday. So, you know, we're going to take a look at, you know, what they used to promote these shows throughout the show cycle. This specific event did take place at the Kettle House Amphitheater. So, you know, again, to give you context about what type of venue it was in, it had about 5,400 seats. So that was the size of that venue there. All right. Again, going back to that show cycle, that initial announce stage. So during this announce stage, what Logjam did is they combined their announce with their pre-sale registration. So you can see here on the left, that is their pre-sale registration page that they created in Hive using our pre-sale registration tool. So they were, really using that announcement here to generate excitement and get people to sign up for the pre-sale. Their pre-sale registration lasted for 7 days. So again, to give you context about how long that ran for. And, in addition to having the pre-sale registration, they did send out a dedicated announce campaign specifically about the Vampire Weekend shows that they were going to be happening on this Saturday and this Sunday. So during the pre-sale, I think I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but one of the really great things about Hive's pre-sale registration feature is that it not only includes the pre-sale registration standalone page, but you can also set it up to send out automated emails. So what Logjam did is that they sent an initial email, which was sent out right after somebody registered during that 7-day period, and it included the pre-sale code right away. And what I really like is that in their subject line, they specifically mentioned that it did include the pre-sale code. So people knew that they had to and should open that email right away, as opposed to just being like, oh, confirmed you've registered, because this email did include important information for the recipients to receive. So this was something that was sent right away. And then the next email that was automated and sent out was more of a reminder. So this was a, hey, tickets are going on sale. It did again include the password just for people who, maybe couldn't find the original email. But it was more of that reminder because the initial email for pre-sale did include the code already. And the results.
Let's talk about results. So for this campaign, they got 1,079 registrations. So they were able to send emails to all of those registrants with pre-sale code. They had a really high open rate, almost 70%, and a very high click-through rate at over 40%. If you're sending out your own email campaigns, and you can compare those, that those are definitely trending higher in terms of email communication. And the great result here was, they sold out of all their pre-sale inventory during this phase. And they're also able to capture additional data on people who maybe weren't able to catch that pre-sale that they could then start retargeting and marketing to drive a conversion throughout the rest of the show cycle.
Yeah, super, super awesome that they managed to sell out during this period. So great. I love those results. So during their on sale, one thing that Logjam does is that, I mentioned that they do a lot of events each year, sometimes up to 350 events a year. So they're not always sending individual emails about every single one of their shows. So during the on sale period, what they did was they sent out both an email and SMS campaign that was more about like on sale events generally that are happening right now. So that, Vampire Weekend was included in that, but I do want to call out that it wasn't a specific campaign. So, they were leveraging both email and SMS together, which again, we love to see. But, because of the marketing and communications that they continued to do during on sale, they did end up selling out. Now they did sort of anticipate this. So another thing that they did was they utilized Hive's landing page tool to create a waitlist form so that anybody who was not able to get tickets during the pre-sale or on sale period could sign up for the waitlist. So again, Logjam did a great job of continuing to gather data on people who were interested in attending the Vampire Weekend shows so that, if extra tickets became available, they could easily send out communications via email or SMS to those people right away, but also for future shows. So, they've got this list. If the Vampire Weekend, comes back again, or if there's other similar artists, they know that, these are a list of people who are interested in that audience. And during the maintenance, of course. Now this is a little bit different because they did sell out. They weren't sort of focusing on non-ticket buyers versus ticket buyers. It was just really ticket buyers during this period. But what they did was they did promote upsell. So in their case, it was promoting their parking shuttle, so tickets for that, as well as tickets for parking near the venue. So, continuing to create that excitement and, upsell opportunities there. But also because they sold out, and I think this is really great that they promoted that, is they also promoted their reseller partner, ticketing partner that they work with. So, letting fans know how they could safely resell or potentially buy tickets to those sold out shows that they did. And lastly, during the back end, they sent out 2 emails, sort of, what we would call during the back end period. Of course, that initial event info, pre-show, know before you go. So, including that information about, what, if you're ready, here's the event info, here's where you show up. So, you don't have people on the day of emailing your venue asking those things. You've got it already ready for them to go. But as a really nice touch after the weekend, they also sent out a thank you email to their recipients. Now they do photo galleries, so that is something extra. But what I particularly liked that they did was that they also included suggestions of other shows that were still on sale, where there were still tickets available, that you may also like, sort of thing. So using that sort of excitement and hopefully that high from having just attended the event to encourage people to go and buy tickets to future and other events that they organize. So as a little wrap up here, we've got all of the tools that they utilized throughout the show cycle, because they really did a fantastic job of maximizing on that event-centric marketing.
And yeah, I mean, this case study is a really great example of leveraging the different stages of show cycle, drive awareness, and continue creating excitement and drive conversion. Just to go through quickly, top line of kind of, a wrap up of what they did. Starting with announce, leveraging pre-sale registration, and coupling that with their standard announce emails and their newsletters, moving into pre-sale, using the automations to send out those pre-sale code emails, and then into on sale, leveraging email and SMS to incorporate that into their newsletter flow, and also leveraging landing pages to create a wait list to continue gathering more data and creating opportunities potentially for last chance tickets. And in the maintenance phase, again, leveraging email to drive upsells and also to promote the fan-to-fan ticket exchange, and on the back end, doing their standard know before you go emails and their really clever thank you emails as well.
Yeah. And one thing I love is that, Logjam does a lot of events each year. So even with a really busy, packed schedule for their team, they were still able to find ways to take advantage of each of the show cycle stages and maximize Hive to help them, in the end, sell out their event, which is what we all are hoping to do, obviously. So again, here, just bringing it back to Hive and our Event Hub feature. You can see here, this is an example straight from Logjam's account of that Saturday Vampire Weekend show. So, again, you can see here, this is the data for their event that we're pulling in from their ticketing platform. You're able to see sort of, an overview of your ticket sales, as well as a look in at your marketing activities and which marketing activities would have contributed to that sold out success that they saw, which I'm so, so proud of them. They did an awesome job. All righty. So we do have, an opportunity here for a Q&A. And while I pop open and have a look at the questions that we've gotten so far, I do just want to mention that we are doing a quick survey to get your feedback on the webinar about what you liked, maybe if there's other things you would like to see in the future us talk about. We'd love to hear feedback. So that will be posted in the chat, and please feel free to fill that out when you do get a chance. All righty here. Ooh, really, really good questions here. So somebody has a question here about SMS. wondering if they're able to sort their ticket buyers, when they're sending an SMS campaign and use those same filters that I've been referencing, a lot throughout the webinar. I think we were sort of focusing more so on email, but I wanted to clarify that yes, in Hive, when you're sending either an email or an SMS campaign, you can utilize all of our filters. And we have a lot of contact filters, especially if you are integrated with a ticketing platform. You can, filter based on things like genre, what people have bought tickets to in the past, if they have or have not bought tickets. So, absolutely make sure that you are, using those different filters. And if you do have questions as you're building your SMS campaign, please feel free to reach out to our support team if you are in Hive. Ooh, there's another really good question here that I think, Marisol, you might like. And the question is, I'll just read it out loud, is do you have a recommended timeline for the show cycle?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of timeline, obviously, backing into that timeline based on show date and when your team is proposing to go on sale. I think your announce phase, or in my experience, the announce phase is really kind of created based off that information. We can talk about announce as, if the show is a great opportunity to use pre-sale registration, really trying to get at least 2 to 5 days before that pre-sale, from announce to pre-sale, so that you have time for pre-sale registration. And then when you move into the pre-sale, ideally, you want to have a 24-hour pre-sale window if you can, especially for those higher demand shows where you have a pre-sale before you're going into on sale. When you keep those windows really short for a registrant, it's really not creating much value for people. They've given you their mobile number, they've asked for a code. You're not really giving them any time to actually make that purchase. But something that you can be a little fluid with and keep watch of. But ideally, you want to try and do that 1 day window on that pre-sale if it's a registration. And then into your on sale phase, starting your maintenance after on sale, which usually I see running anywhere between 2 and 4 weeks on the on sale. 2 weeks is probably more common, but kind of cutting that off, moving into maintenance, and then hitting your back end about 4 weeks before show date. That's the typical timeline that I've seen.
Yeah. And sort of related to that question, somebody else asked if there's a way in Hive to tee up your future emails. So, to sort of organize them and pre-plan them. And that does depend a little bit in Hive on where in the show cycle you are. So I mentioned that with our pre-sale registration feature, that sort of that standalone page where if you're doing pre-sale, you can get people to register through that. With that, it is sort of connected to or very similar to our automations feature. So you can pre-create those emails to send out at a pre-organized time. So, maybe sending the confirmation email right away when somebody registers, that can already be, scheduled. And then the next is, a day in advance or 60 minutes in advance, whatever you guys end up doing, letting people know the pre-sale is on sale there. So you can use that in the pre-sale feature. I'll also mention if you're sending out your emails as sort of more one-off campaigns, if that just works better for your marketing style or strategy, you can schedule emails in Hive. So at any point, you can set when you want those emails to send. And if you have templates that you're using over and over again, you can use tools like the event block to pull in your event information into those email campaigns to keep reusing that to save yourselves time and make things nice and easy for you. But the other thing that we have in Hive is our automations feature. So, there's different ways that you can use Hive's automations tools. You can do it sort of like on a general overall for all of your events type thing. So, regardless of the event, people are always getting the same sort of pre-show email. But you can also set them up so that the entry trigger is bought tickets to a specific event. So again, you can kind of tee those up in advance. So when somebody, enters that automation, they start buying those tickets when they go on sale. They get an email thanking them maybe, then, you've got a bit of a delay and you sort of start to send those things in an automated way. And with all of that, you can customize all of the templates. So, depending on your workflow, there are lots of ways that you can tee those up and save yourself time by pre-creating and scheduling those emails to send out in advance. Absolutely. There's another question here, Marisol, actually from the same person who asked the last question that you just addressed. And it's, she's wondering sort of that, we talked about building urgency for popular events, but how, would we recommend people build urgency for events that maybe aren't selling out or aren't selling as well?
Yeah, I was actually looking at that question and thinking about it while it's up there while you were talking about the last one. You know, and maybe urgency isn't the right word to use when you think about those types of events because yeah, I mean, creating urgency to purchase tickets on a show that hasn't been selling. I mean, your urgency window is really going to be on the earlier side of your show cycle and trying to build that urgency and excitement early on. But as you're tracking through the show cycle and you're seeing that shows aren't selling, you really kind of want to shift that now to, what are some of the great tactics that I can start using to continue to sell tickets. And then ultimately, if you get into the back end, you start thinking about, okay, I need to make sure that I can make sure that we have a good showing in the room. I need to maybe paper, like what are some of the tactics I can do for that? So I think it's this case study obviously was on, a higher demand show with a bigger artist. And this was a great case study to show kind of the different ways to use Hive through the show cycle for that. I think just changing the mindset of kind of where things are going on the back end in the maintenance and back end phase when you have a show that isn't selling. And, some of the tactics and things that you can start thinking about as you get into the back end on those shows is really around how do I continue growing a database of interested parties so I can continue to market to them and drive conversion, looking at my segmentation, making optimizing that so that I can continue driving conversion. If you have collected data early on, or you have areas of interesting parties, or maybe affinity databases and things that you haven't tapped into yet, looking at your maybe higher ticket purchase or loyalty groups, and maybe starting to surface up special offers to them exclusively to drive conversion, or even thinking about offering them BOGOs or even, special ticket offers on the back end via SMS as a reward, because there are someone who typically maybe comes to your venue more often, goes to more shows, and maybe would be keen on checking out that show, are great ways to think about tactics to drive sales and ensure that you have a solid showing as you get to the show date.
Now, I do see that somebody has their hand raised, Michaela. If you do have a question, please feel free to drop it in the Q&A or the chat if you haven't done that yet. So we do have another question here from somebody who says they work at a venue, and they're curious about, how other departments that we work with are utilizing SMS and sort of what trends we're seeing that I think other departments are utilizing that would apply to a venue specifically. This is another really good question. And I personally love when I'm working with a venue or a customer where both the marketing team and a ticketing team are in communication and in sync together. Because, there's so much crossover there in your goals because you want to be selling tickets. So one thing that I have seen from a venue is, and this actually kind of relates to that last question Marisol answered about last minute ticket sales. So there is a venue that Hive works with where they utilize SMS specifically to promote those last minute ticket sales at the box office. So they send out a sort of like last minute day of type SMS campaign saying, hey, if you bring in this text message, bring in your phone and show the box office your phone, you'll get either, a discount on your ticket for tonight, or, the ticket will be a special price for those people. So that's a good way to kind of, bring the box office and that team into your marketing activities. And, it's also a nice way to bring that SMS marketing into the real life, because other people in the line could be like, how did you get that SMS? Like, where did that come from? The other thing too about SMS is that, places in your venue are a great way to encourage people to sign up for your SMS list. So I have seen some venues who kind of almost like walk the lineup of the line, before people enter the venue with like an iPad, or, sort of showing a QR code or something, telling people about their SMS list to encourage people to sign up. depending on your audience, if maybe you have a slightly older audience, they may feel more comfortable talking to somebody from your venue and from your team about what they'll receive by signing up for your SMS list. So that could be another way to, to sort of encourage people to sign up. And one other way to kind of bring other departments and teams in would be sort of, what are their goals? Like, is selling merch a goal? Is promoting other events that are maybe, non-music related? Is that sort of like a goal? Or is it, maybe promoting your restaurants? Maybe you've got sort of like a food and beverage aspect to your venue, and using SMS to promote those things as well, especially if you can kind of spin it with your SMS list as sort of like a VIP or a special access, like, hey, we have food and beverage. Come on in. We remember your favorite drink order, or, we remember you like Pepsi or coffee versus tea or whatever it would be. And, if you show this SMS, you can get a special code or something to that effect. So there's lots of ways I think that you can get creative to bring in other people and other departments to kind of get them on board with SMS. Because really the sky's the limit with, what you could promote on there. Okay. So there is another question here, Marisol, about frequency of events that you may have an opinion on as well. So the question is the recommendation when the frequency events is more constant. So, in the Logjam example that we showed, they do up to 350 events a year. This person says in their case, they have about 2 events per month where their sold out is 4,000 tickets. So, yeah, maybe a little bit less events per month than someone like Logjam would have. So,
I mean, to me, if you're focused on 2 events a month, you can really leverage that show cycle marketing technique in a more custom way per show, because you've got, more constant being on a regular basis. You always have 2 shows a month. You've got a higher cap. I mean, if those shows are obviously you're talking about 4,000 tickets. If those are higher demand shows, I think the tactics that you've seen in the Logjam case study are actually really, really great tactics, really depending on what kind of events you're doing and what kind of audience you're driving. But I think, the obviously Hive can provide a lot of benefit with creating some automations on some of those different things where that those are going to be repeatable actions that you can do on a regular basis, for those kind of constant 2 show a month activities, but really looking at that event-centric marketing and maybe building a plan on what is the most typical activity that you think you would do to replicate on a regular basis to help build out your plan, and then think about where those custom areas within that cycle are gonna occur, so that you can kind of share your time in the right way, so that you're not kind of trying to restart your plan every time you do a show.
yeah, on the flip side of that, there is another question similar to that, from somebody who says they've got 45 shows coming up in October alone between 2 venues. And they say their concern is about oversaturating their sort of smaller SMS subscriber list, perhaps getting opt-outs from that. And if they're sending too many emails, getting too many unsubscribes. I'll also let Marisol chime in on that. But, my first initial thought on that is actually during the on-sale phase, when we were talking about Logjam, one of the things they do is that they bundled some of their events together. So they're not, doing individual emails and individual SMS campaigns for every single show to avoid oversaturating. So what they've done with SMS is they've sort of trained that audience that, once a week they get sort of like here's everything that's on sale. So people know to expect that email or SMS campaign because they know they'll be getting a lot of information at once. So that could be one thing to consider. I know October is really soon, so there's not a lot of weeks ahead before that. But that could be one idea. And that's sort of the first thing that comes to mind for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you think about SMS and email, they shouldn't be a replication of each other. I mean, SMS is really about timely notifications, special announcements. Like you want to create an extra value for someone to give you that more personal phone number and that more personal connection into their device. You know, you can look at email as a deeper dive. You can be sending that out, you know, more often on a regular basis, and think about segmentation very like, you know, much more clearly when you're doing SMS and those kind of high value messages. So if you're going to send out, you know, we talked about the backend SMS, like maybe you're not going to send an SMS at every point in the show cycle. You're going to look and say strategically, what's the most high value point in this particular show where an SMS could go out? Could I automate that and send that out? And kind of try and build back from that, looking at what your email communication is, and you know, not consider maybe doubling up on everything in that case, so that you can really segment those, because you know, I presume you're going to have subscribers who are on both lists. So that's the other thing to consider too when you're sending that SMS out, is, you know, how to create that more high value touch point for the SMS, so that you aren't getting a lot of unsubscribes. And it looks like you've got smaller SMS signups, which is great. It's okay if you send a smaller list for now, as you're continuing to grow your SMS list, which is something that will take time for all of you. You know, leveraging that to really send out high value touch points, and refocusing email on more robust messaging is a good way to do that.
So one other question we have here is about pre-show information. So sending out that know before you go pre-show email or SMS campaign. This person's question says that they usually send that email out through their ticketing platform, because the contacts and ticket buyers that they're getting in Hive are people who've opted into marketing communications. So they're sort of wondering if there's any, you know, workarounds or alternatives on how to reach out to those people before an event happens. And that's a really interesting question, because it kind of gets into the difference between transactional emails and marketing emails. So Hive is primarily a marketing platform. So sending communications to people who've, you know, made a purchase with you and who want to receive marketing communications from you and remain opted in. Transactional emails are those ones that, you know, we all get when we buy something online now. You know, people, there's not that same expectation and legality around being able to opt out, because it's information that is need to know, whereas marketing is nice to know. So because Hive is a marketing platform, everybody does need to have the option to opt out. So for people who are using Hive to send those emails that do lean in towards transactional, like the know before you goes, unfortunately, you know, there isn't really a good workaround or you know, a nice clean workaround in Hive, because they need to be able to opt out. So it is great that you are utilizing your ticketing platform for that. And we do see lots of customers whose ticketing platforms offer transactional emails. One thing I will say about them though, is that, you know, many of those email campaigns that are sent by your ticketing platform, you may not have as much flexibility as you would in Hive to, you know, customize that email. And also, if you're sending those through Hive, you can add in some of those extras that don't fall under transactional, but fall under marketing, like suggesting other shows or suggesting upsells and things like that. So it is, you know, unfortunately going to be a bit of a trade-off between you may not reach all of your ticket buyers with those emails if you're sending them through Hive, but Hive is really giving you that flexibility to customize it to your brand and add in additional messaging. I believe that's all. I think we've covered most of the questions that weren't answered in the chat. I did see, I did see somebody added in a comment about a question that we talked about here, about adding in SMS marketing. So let me just read that out. So this person asked or said that they typically are seeing low open and click-through rates, and they're asking if we would recommend adding in SMS marketing. They do specify that their demographic is 35 to 65-year-old adults who may be more hesitant to add, to sort of sign up for SMS. Now, sort of my first part to that answer would be with Hive and with SMS marketing specifically, getting opt-in consent is very important. So anybody who signs up for your list and is, opting in for SMS, they have explicitly opted in and given you that consent. So it is a little bit different than email marketing where, when you purchase a product, it is implied consent to be able to send out emails to them, which they can then opt out to. But with email marketing, they explicitly must opt in. So anybody who is on your list would have joined it with the full, understanding and intention of knowing that they're going to be receiving SMS campaigns. So there shouldn't be that sort of, sending them out to people who didn't opt into that. That is a huge no-no. So, that right up the front should, make sure you're getting less spam complaints or less people opting out because people did give you that consent. So that's the sort of the first thing there. The other is, 35 to 65-year-olds have had mobile phones for a long time now. I personally fall within that age demographic. I have parents who fall also within that age demographic. So, just because somebody is older doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be as adverse to, receiving SMS communications or making a purchase after receiving, a ticketing link or something through SMS. It's really about your unique audience. And I think, one of the ways that you're going to find out is if you test it and see if it works with them. You also have to keep in mind that, not all communication methods are going to work for everybody equally. So there may only be a small, group of your ticket buyers who SMS works for, but they could be very valuable and that could be their preferred style of communication over email. So that would be kind of, one thing there. The other thing kind of touching back to people opting in is that, when people sign up in Hive, you can initiate a double opt-in process. So, if people have opted in by mistake, which should not be happening for SMS, you can set it up so that, they opt in and they immediately get sort of a confirmation to, ask them to say, yes, I definitely do want to receive SMS. So, that will probably make your list with SMS a little bit smaller, but it will ensure that everybody who is on your SMS subscriber list is 100% wanting to receive SMS campaigns.
And one thing I'll add to that too is, when you're, many people are in kind of early stages now of building out their SMS opt-in lists. You've had your email list for a long time. You're starting to think about tactics now to start getting people to opt it in for SMS so you can start building out your SMS marketing strategies and leveraging it. And, healthy list setup is crucial. It's great to think about that from day one, making sure that your messaging, your ask on why am I joining this list? What am I going to get out of it? And keeping that simple, making sure he's communicating how people can opt out. Double opt-in is a great tactic that you may notice a lot of people use if you've signed up to any list, because it's like the one consent of checking that box. They may or may not have known what that was about. That second follow-up is the reconfirmation, also great for trust building and confirmation with the carriers that those SMSs should not be contested and they should always go through. So again, all contributing to this healthy SMS list setup. If you start at the base with a great healthy list, you should see greater returns on the back end, which I think was one of the things that that was communicated in that answer as well.
Yeah. All right, so we are, I can see we're at time now. So we're going to sort of wrap things up. I do want to thank everybody for joining us today. As a reminder, you are going to receive a follow-up email with a recording of the webinar today. We also have a really great playbook that focuses on event-centric marketing and again goes through all of the stages in the show cycle. So, you've got that on hand if you wanted to share it with your colleagues. And of course, if you have time, please fill out that poll that we shared earlier in the chat. We would love to hear your feedback. And thank you again so much for joining us.